Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of Master Avengers Theater with your heroes, Old Snake, Cobra Commander TFW, and his sidekick, Shillelagh Lad, Mikey G. Wolfie 3. Hello and welcome to another episode of Master Avengers Theater. I am, of course, Andy, Cobra Commander TFW here. Mikey, as I mentioned on the Moonbase 2 episode, is still stuck within the Matrix. I hear he has been chosen as the one, whatever that means. When I think of Mikey as the one, I think of him as my one and only. Oh, nice. Little gay, but whatever. So I have replacements, and obviously, if you listen to the Moonbase 2, you will know that my first guest is one that was already planned. He's Mr. Paul Sugar Bear Logan Blaze.
Hello, welcome, and Mikey is he's the one I want, he is the one I want, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Wow.
That's the one.
You're degrading the quality of the show already, Paul. Thank you.
I aim to please. Hello, Andy.
You doing good?
Hello, Andy.
Excellent. Well, we'll take that as a eh. Yes, because you told me before we started recording that you are still recovering from me last night.
Oh yes, I am still feeling a little bit sore between the legs.
That's good. Which is odd because you were podcasting with me, so it's an interesting way to hurt yourself while sitting in the chair. Granted, I didn't see what you were doing in said chair while recording last night, so it's best not to think about that, I suppose.
Let's not dwell on that, and let's move on quickly.
Yeah, let's not dwell on the darkness that lays between your thighs. Because we have Mikey's fill-in. He is the man who has been gracious enough to let us put up the Master Avengers Theater on his nerd sphere. He is the one and only Timey. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Andy. I'm already judging from this conversation that, unlike Mikey, you and Paul took the blue pill.
I always did the blue pill.
Oh, man.
I take the blue triangle pill a lot. What is it? Was it diamond shaped nowadays?
I don't know, Paul.
I really, really don't know. Andy doesn't know because half the time he can't even remember what he did the other hour.
Yeah, maybe because I take the blue pill that's I'm told is rat poison. I think that's probably why I dislike my grand's cooking so much. I have a feeling she may smuggle rat poison in the food every now and again.
Oh man,
that's dark.
It's like, Andy, he's all right, but I don't want him to live past me, and I'm fairly old, so I'll just put in a blue pill every once in a while to cut down his life expectancy.
Oh my God, Grandma, those aren't dumplings!
They're just giant rat pills. It's like, it's blue. No, it's fine, Andy. Okay. Nom, nom, nom. You're meant to swallow them in one go. Really? They're quite big. No, okay, I'll swallow it. Delicious.
I suppose, since this is on Nerdsphere, hi, I'm your Lord and Master Time Lord. And actually, this is weird because that means both hosts of Shut Up and Watch This are together on the show that's on their RSS feed. This is weird.
Are we in the same place at the same time? Does that sort of create a black hole?
Well, that's going to be a real problem at Auto Assembly then.
Yes.
Really? That we cause a black hole every time we meet?
Oh no,
Lord.
That's just the size of my ass. That's it.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
I'm just wondering, is it the Matrix Mikey actually travelled to?
Maybe. Maybe they create a white dwarf and it forms into Phil.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
You in there.
Yeah, I did. If I could have got in Leprechaun, I would have done, but it works. It works well enough.
He hit it with a shillelagh and he blew up and created a big bang.
But I suppose I should ask before we get started, Paul.
Yes.
Since we haven't had you on Master Avengers Theater as of today, of course, what have you thought of Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes?
Possibly the greatest animated show in the last 10 years.
I would say that is a bold statement, but a fair one.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would say that, of course. Have you enjoyed it so far then? Since obviously you say it's the best cartoon in 10 years, I'm probably guessing that's a yes.
I think so, yes. It's very well written. The animation's always been top notch. It's never dumbed down regarding the audience. And some of them, particularly this show, this particular one we're seeing today, it's just so very well scripted. It's condensed storytelling at its best.
Definitely. I'm guessing you've seen all of the series as well. You've finished it at this point, yeah?
I'm still got about 5 or 6 of season 2 to get through.
I would say watch them, but it's difficult to recommend watching them on the basis that the longer you leave it, the longer the show has technically life left in it. I've seen it all, so now Avengers is done for me. There's nothing more to look forward to.
Yeah, I think I've actually got a few more to go because I think I've only seen up to enter the Yellow Jacket.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you've still got a few more to go
Yeah.
then. Then before we ask Matt his opinions on this episode, we'll ask you, Paul, what did you think, since you briefly mentioned a little bit of your thoughts on this show? Give us your general thoughts on what's this episode called? Captain America is Born.
Yeah. Or
Or Meet Captain America, isn't it?
Meet
Yeah.
Captain America, I think is the one its wiki calls it.
Yes.
I think, and I'll probably mention it a couple of times, this is the best case of good fan wank.
Okay.
As in, it's got a great storyline, it's self-contained and everything like that, but throws in so many things for the fans, but it doesn't overwhelm the story. It is the best type of fan service in that respect. For a couple of points, the fact that it's a self-contained story, but so many things leap off this, and it's not just one storyline. There's at least about 2 or 3 storylines that come from this, but you don't feel like it gets overwhelmed by that. It's just probably the most condensed one in probably the first season, I think, for that.
Yeah, I would agree with that, which is ironic that you mentioned so many stories start off this one, since this was one of the episodes cut out of the English or European released version.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, this was the episode that was missing from the release in the UK from the actually any of the collections here in the UK and around here don't have this episode in.
Oh, fail.
I will actually interject here. I was watching Avengers on Disney XD on the satellite, and I don't actually recall seeing this episode aired.
You don't think it's actually been on TV either?
I don't think it's been on TV. Now, somebody out there can say I'm probably wrong. This was quite some time ago when it first came on at Disney XD. I was watching it in the evenings, and I think they bypassed this one. It may have had a future airing since, but I don't recall seeing it amongst its number. So it could well be that some PC person out there has decided that the UK cannot watch this episode by legal means.
Yes, I assumed it might be because they saw Hydra is just kind of a slightly more extreme version of the Nazis, and it takes place during World War II, and maybe I assumed that they were trying not to reference Nazi-esque crimes in World War II, which I guess is fair, but I don't agree with it.
Well, no, the thing is that they did it in the original Spider-Man, and there was no problem with that there. And it's
They're a lot more PC now, though. We got to remember, unfortunately,
true. And
people get a lot more freaky about stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a swastika shown in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
You wouldn't get away with that now. I can guarantee that. But yeah, do you have anything else you want to briefly mention before we ask Matt his opinion?
No, I will leave it for the show itself.
All right, cool, Mr. Matt. What did you think of this episode then of Avengers? Since this, I will mention as well, when you were saying, Matt, that it wasn't shown on TV. Matt meant in the UK TV. We didn't get it. Just in case someone heard and went, but we did get it in America. Yes, you did. I know.
Well done.
Don't worry about that. But we didn't get it here at all.
Mm-hmm.
So go on, Matt. Tell us what you thought of this episode then.
I have no opinion.
No opinion.
I'm joking. Okay. As you know from the last time I was in this pair podcast, I started watching the Avengers during their 5-minute chunks on Marvel's website. So I could say this is a nice 3-part story involving Captain America at wartime, followed by a lovely side story with Kang the Conqueror. And it does come across this way in this episode. It's fine. I do love it for what it is, though. It's a lovely condensed version of basically the whole Captain America wartime arc without having to delve too much into his backstory, as it were, because you kind of get that with the movie anyhow. It's like all the other so-called quotation origin episodes in season 1. It's like you already know the characters, get on with it, have a little bit of exposition, but other than that, we're going to kick it off, and these are their spotlights.
Yeah.
But I will actually jump in here. I actually think this is more Bucky than it is Captain America for obvious reasons later down the line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I'd say it's more Bucky. I would say Bucky has a role to play in this, bigger than we assumed he. Well, people who know the comics knew he was going to have an important part to play eventually, but it took some time for him to get worked back into the story.
It's a bit of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and once you've experienced those episodes, you can go back and go, oh yeah,
yeah.
I actually think there's a bit more. I liked the episode where Captain America actually comes and wakes up in the present day a little bit more, but I kind of dug all the little nods, as it were, in this story. And we'll get to that, especially when we get to the Howling Commandos.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
I like this one a lot myself. I think it's one of the stronger of the origin episodes. I will say that it's, as far as I'm aware, no, I think it is. I think it's, apart from the Black Panther one, which is 3 superheroes in one, rather than the rest of them, which just focused on one mainly. This is the only one that actually shows the superhero get his powers. We see it in the flashback right at the start. None of the other intros to the characters show how they attain their powers, unlike I said, Black Panther, who we see, his story's like the last third of the Ant-Man, Wasp, and Black Panther episode, which is the next one that we'll be talking about next week, so I'll leave it at that. But like I mentioned, this is the only episode where we actually see the superhero normal and then become who he is in the rest of the series, which is kind of interesting. And obviously we get introduced to Kang and quite a few other people along the way as well. And good old Steve Bloom, he comes in and he knocks out 2 roles in one show, at least 2 roles. But we'll mention them when we see him later on. So I suppose we should kick off this episode. Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, we start off in a crystal-like chamber, which I assumed similar to like maybe a holodeck or something. It's more than that, obviously. But we find Kang searching the historical records on Steve Rogers, and we get a real old-school newsreel from World War II on Hydra taking over the world, and we've got some very kind of propaganda kind of that stereotypical. This is World War II.
Hello,
it's
this
all
is
black
the
and white.
BBC World Service here for you. That sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's all very, very, yes, very good, except American, of course. The cool thing about this is it's all in black and white, which I thought was pretty neat. We get to see Steve Rogers in his really depressingly skinny form. I hate to say, it does remind me a little bit of Phil. like when he's sitting on the table and the doctor's holding the needle. Put some glasses on that kid. Are you going to tell me he doesn't look a little bit like Phil?
I'm going to faint.
It's difficult to say it's not true. I like Phil, so Phil, you're technically in Avengers, so take it as that. It's not an insult. I think
you will be very much enjoying the idea of that.
Because he's Steve Rogers before he becomes Captain America.
Yeah.
There you go, yeah. So he has to like it. Oh, too bad, Phil. I guess you don't like Captain America as much as you say you do.
One day, Phil too will be using performance-enhancing drugs, and he too will be Captain Island.
Oh God, that'd be a terrible, terrible thing to see. But yes, they continue the little wartime presentation, and it cuts on the American flag because it's, again, like I mentioned, a propaganda thing. So of course they cut on the American flag, and we find ourselves in the sea on one of those old-timey troop carrier boats. I don't know the technical term for them. On a very rainy night, very desaturated colors in this opening sequence. All of the Howling Commandos who we see on the boat are pretty much gray, completely gray, which is interesting when we see a couple of the other characters pop up in a little bit. They land on the beach and do a very kind of Normandy-esque thing of hiding behind the big I don't know, hexagonal metal structures that are on the beach while going up to the castle, because that's what you do, I guess. You go up to evil castles. They have to travel through also a graveyard, which is kind of creepy in itself. And they get ambushed by one Hydra dude on a mounted machine gun turret. So we get to see them jump behind some cover, and we get to see some shots of the Howling Commandos. Now I don't know all of them because I'm not a huge Howling Commando man, but I know we see uh, what's Nick Fury's dad,
Mhm.
who I'm going to obviously interject here, is a complete invention of this cartoon.
Yes.
Is it? I
Yep.
think that works quite well. If it is completely new, I think it's not a bad idea to have Nick Fury's dad as a Howling Commando. I think that's a nice idea. We do see Dum Dum Dugan in his lovely bowler hat. We see Logan. He's not called Logan though, is he? What's he called here?
God,
James Howlett.
James Howlett. Yes, he's called James here, and he of course says Bub because that's what Wolverine does because he's Canadian. Who else do we have here? Does anybody know the Howling Commandos that we see? Who's the English guy with a little weird
Pinky.
French
That's
beret?
Percival Pinky Pinkerton.
Wow, that's a lot of P's. Is he English?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Who else do we have here then? Who's the guy chewing bubblegum?
I'm on it as we speak.
I think that's Rebel Ralston. I think.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry, that must be. I think that's Dino Mantelli. I think actually.
I like that
just
name. Dino
going
Mantelli.
through them. Dum Dum Duggan, Gabe Jones, Rebel Walston, Dino Manelli, Izzy Cohen, and Pinky Pinkerton.
Yeah, there you go. Those are all the ones that we see here, is it?
Yeah, they're all the ones we see, and each and every one of them, with the exception of Jack Fury and Logan, because he was a retcon in the comics. Each and every one of them made their first appearance in the 1960s in the Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos.
Versus Jimmy Woo and the Golden Claw.
Oh no, Jimmy Woo had nothing to do with it.
Well, Jimmy Woo should have been in a lot more things.
Oh man.
Yeah. Goddamn Jimmy Woo, son. So, as they're getting pinned down by the gunfire, obviously a shield comes in and cuts and blows up the gun, and guess who it is? It's Captain America. It'd be strange if it was anybody else, really, since it's his show.
He's thrown his mighty shield.
And unfortunately, those who take the shield must yield, or something like that. But he grabs the shield, and we get this really cool but weird shot of like a silhouette of Captain America, but all of the white on him standing out. It's a really cool shot. But it's a very arty shot as well. It makes him seem very heroic, and then he turns the shield slightly, and color starts coming on him. And he's really the only guy at this point who's got any color on him. Even when all of the Howling Commandos are looking at him, they're still all desaturated, and Captain America's pretty much all color. I mean, it still looks like it's nighttime, but he's the only one that has any amount of color on him, which I thought was an interesting and smart way of introducing your hero and your focal point. We then cut into the castle where we see Steve Blum once again, who we just saw before. But this time he's playing as Zirad Skull. And he's talking to a very young Lieutenant Strucker. And this is non-monocled, normal armed Strucker. And he's demanding a report from Mr. Strucker. And Skull tells him to send out some troops just to buy them some time. They're not going to do anything, but it'll give them time to prep the species, or the specimens, I should say. We then get the Allies doing the typical charge thing, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, that woo-woo, as they all make their final charge for the castle. And we get a couple of moments of them actually doing the thing, like good old Logan hiding in the water, jumping out, and I'm guessing killing someone horribly. Dugan picking up someone and throwing him, and Pinky with his little umbrella being extremely British, I assume.
Fisticuffs.
Of course, the finest of sports. I'm guessing he I thought it was a beret he was wearing, but it looks more like one of them really froofy golfing hats, like the ones that are way too big for people.
I always thought it was slightly more closer to a Scottish type hat.
Oh, that's probably a bit more logical than a golfing hat. I'll give you that. Unless the golfing hats were based off of the Scottish ones. Either way. Captain America and Mr. Fury Senior push up to the drawbridge, and they have a bit of a scuffle with some more Hydra goons as one of them through over the castle wall throws a grenade and Captain America blocks it, but they're not doing too good. And just as a Hydra goon that was left on the bridge is about to, I'm guessing, shoot Captain America, the drawbridge basically drops down and smushes him, which is kind of a horrible death, really. Like that's kind of brutal. It's not focused upon, kind of like the deaths that you get in Transformers Prime, but it's like that guy was just smushed.
Yep.
Like,
and Cap has a
Jesus.
great expression on his face, like,
He's a little bit surprised, but it's not like he's like, oh God, that's terrible. I'm so sad that Hydra troop got smushed. Yeah, it's just like, oh, yeah, there he is. And who was the one that dropped him? It was, of course, young Bucky, the voice actor that does him. I don't know his name, but he was the one that did the voice for Robin in Teen Titans, which I was happy to see because I was like, hey, this is kind of a perfect role for him. So Bucky mentions that he wasn't able to get into the lower labs, but the stealth part of this mission's over according to Cap America. So they head inside, leaving the Howling Commandos to vanish out of this episode without any goodbye, chaps, good working with you. Which is a shame. Bucky throws this weird sticky grenade on the door, blows it open, and yeah, something a little bit strange comes through. We see a giant Cyclops come out with a giant wooden hammer, and it roars, and everybody's a bit like, what? And that's pretty much how we end the first half of the episode. So, Mr. Matt, what did you think of this opening section to the episode, sir?
I loved the old timey, just to continue the pun, newsreel.
Right.
It was a very good way of settling the whole exposition and just getting it done and out of the way. Because although we actually see Captain America get his origin here, it's only done through this. The rest of the time, he's been out there battling the scum of Hydra in World War II ever since. So in a sense, we're straight into the action. But I just loved how they covered his backstory there and just got it out of the way. The Howling Commandos. Oh man. Like I said, love the fact that we had this little wink to Jack Fury. So in a funny way, this kind of makes Nick Fury a little different from the comics as well, because if anybody's read Battle Scars, you know how that's gone down. This is a very different Nick Fury, and this is a very different Jack Fury. I don't really know how to settle that. I think it's been better served than Marvel Comics has actually served it, for certain. Just to give you a little bit of backstory, actually, about the Howling Commandos, it was actually brought in the 1960s, but set in World War II. So it was always a World War II thing. Retroactively connected with Captain America, because of course they weren't created until the 60s, but always sort of saddled up with Captain America at the same time because of the whole World War II thing. Amazingly, Logan's place in it was only brought in again as a sort of retcon, because I think that was in the 80s. They brought him in and they had him tied in with Nick Fury, etc., etc.
Well, it was when they were sort of gearing up for the Origins run, wasn't it? So I think they were trying to fill in the gap that he's been around for that long.
Yeah, exactly. By this time, it came out the same. Was it the same time as Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I'm not certain.
Don't know.
But again, in a series of retcons, originally this was Nick Fury 20 years later. He is now an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., etc., etc. You can tell because he's got grey on the sides of his temples. And of course, later on, it's actually no. This is more like 70 years down the line, and he's got something in his genes that makes sure he never really gets old. Yay!
Fair enough.
Anyway, back to the actual cartoon. Sorry about the info dump.
Info dump.
Love their introduction here. I didn't think we were going to get them all the way through the episode somehow. Just in the end of the day, Captain America on his own, right from the trenches, straight from the get-go, straight on there, even that's a little bit implausible. But I like the use of the Howling Commandos here. I liked how they pretty much incorporated each of their styles in the fight and everything. And I liked also the fact that we didn't get a straight-on right, suddenly everything's in colour, because it was gradually building up to Captain America's appearance.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked it. So it may grate to some people, but I digged it. It was like you just brought it up to this moment. The minute Captain America comes in, hey, everyone's got a bit of colour in their lives. It's Pleasantville. It's when he then starts handing out lollipops and stuff like that you got to worry about.
Wow.
Oh, that's getting dark.
Yeah, a little bit dark. Do you have anything else you want to drop about this intro section, Mr. Matt?
Death. We see death, or we don't actually see it, but there is actual death in this.
Yeah.
And very nasty death, like you said. He got squished. He got squished big time, and Bucky is very, very happy about squishing people.
Well, they are kind of bad people, but still, and it is war. But yeah, for a kids' cartoon, it's like, oh wow, okay, I'm surprised they got away with that, but that's fine.
Other than that, I've got nothing else to say.
Mr. Paul, give us your thoughts on this little segment.
Oh, well, I love the fact that we have almost 2 or 3 art styles within the first 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You have the first part, which is more styles that we get throughout the show, which is on the Damocles. Go into the newsreel, which, I love how that's done. It feels like I'm watching a film to some degree. It is very cinematic.
Yes.
The framing and everything, and like you say, the way it goes into the shadows and the sepia tones of the very dark newsreel into the gritty, almost Saving Private Ryan style.
The true way that the war's actually fought, rather than
Exactly.
the high spectacle of what the newsreels portray it as.
But then we also, like you highlighted again, was how Captain America's done. It reminded me straight away of Samurai Jack style, that style of artwork.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So again, we have another one right in the middle of that. I said it at the start. This is condensed storytelling in its best. You get this tag of the Howling Commandos. You don't really need to go any further than that. Everything is done very sparingly, but enough that it describes the shield. I like one of those. Oh, it's one of a kind. It sort of sets it up as a very special shield. They don't labour the point. It's very iconic. I was going iconic, but it's storytelling on economy scale. It's efficient. That's the better word. An efficient way of doing.
Yeah, and they definitely had to at this point, because obviously we are still talking about technically the micro episodes. So like you say, they had very little time to get as much story out as they could, and they squeezed as much of that sponge as they could, and they did a really good job for the most part, I would say.
And I'm partly sort of sad also that we are so PC, mostly from an aesthetic quality, to be honest, because Nazis look better as villains than Hydra.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, can't we have a few Nazi people in it? And of course, Red Skull wears a Nazi uniform virtually.
Oh yeah, that's a full-on Nazi uniform.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. Pretty much good. It's just, that's about covers it. It just fair old whips along.
It was a good little intro. I think I made most of my points while I was talking about it. Good to see Bucky. I liked, like I said, I enjoyed Bucky for the little appearance he had at that moment. It was cool. It shows that he is a stealthy guy. I'm kind of glad that they didn't go into him knifing like the unconscious people the Captain left behind in his wake. Because that's kind of what he was meant to do, but yeah, it's better that he didn't.
And I also like they didn't play the old Golden Age version of Bucky to that extent, because the original Bucky was, and you mentioned it, he was like the old style Robin, the 870s style. He was like, hello, Billy, Bob, Captain, it's going to be all... This was somebody who was an active soldier.
Yeah.
But
he was a very highly trained soldier as well, as later storylines will show us as well.
Oh, will they just? Oh, it's because of those storylines though that I actually like Bucky, because I never really got behind Bucky as a kid. I always thought of him, even though, did he come before or after Robin? I think he came after.
I would imagine after.
Yeah, I always thought of him as just a knockoff Robin, and I sort of put it aside. And never, when he died, he was died. That's it. Oh dear, moral drama for the Captain America, and that's that. It's only later on when he came back, I sort of really got behind him. It's like, oh my god, this guy is basically Solid Snake. like.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
He was pretty hardcore.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we should move on to our next little segment because we left off with this giant Cyclops, and he wasn't desperately happy. So guess what? He attacks because he's evil, and he's also, strangely enough, got this little collar around his neck, which doesn't quite fit with his motif of the potato sack loincloth and shoulder pad and tree hand that he's got going on. So maybe we'll come back and touch on that later. Who knows? Maybe that's a plot thing. Who can say? Um, but obviously, neither Captain America nor Bucky really know what it is, and I don't blame him. It's kind of freaky. Captain America assumes that it might be something that Arlim Zola might have made, which is a logical thing since Mr. Zola is kind of a freak, as it is. Doughboy, for instance.
He's a Teletubby. He's a suicidal Teletubby.
Yeah, he was the Teletubby before Teletubbies.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What were the ones in the 80s? The flying TV heads.
Telebugs.
Telebugs.
Oh God. Yeah. But you know this thing is attacking them, and no one's desperately pleased about it. So Captain America decides to try and lure it out onto the bridge, and he's got one of these crazy Captain America plans. So basically, he's standing on the bridge, and he lets the ogre, or Cyclops rather, smack the bridge. It starts breaking the bridge, and Captain America jumps off, and the poor creature, out of its home, of its natural land, falls, I guess, to its death. I always thought it was weird that it was never picked up on, that no one found this either decaying body or skeleton of an ogre just in that river. 'Cause I think that would have been. I suppose they could potentially go back and do that for the future, but whatever.
It turned up in Troll Hunter.
So this is all connected with Troll Hunter the movie.
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. We do cut then to the inside of a creepy lab where we've got some weird things in jars and bottles, and we have Captain America and Bucky just talking about, they could have used any one of these crazy weapons to take down the Allies. And Captain America's like, well, yeah, that's kind of why we're here, to kind of stop them, because we're American.
Fuck yeah.
That's why we're here. Yeah, fuck yes. And so they go into the main part of the lab where they basically see a load of these mythological creatures like pixies and more ogres and wolves in little test tubes and jars and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And again, no one, Captain America just goes, yeah, they don't look like they're from our world. Bravo, Captain, saying the obvious and whatnot. The Red Skull basically says he knows Captain America's there because he has crazy Red Skull psycho power, I guess. And the Hydra troops surround him, and Captain America goes, we can get out of this. And Skull's like, well, yeah, you'll probably be fine, but your little boyfriend there will probably not get out of it. And he's like, yeah, all right, fair enough. So they have to surrender because Bucky's a little wimp and can die from bullets. Loser. And what's that about anyway, being a superhero? So they are held by the Red Skull and his troops, and we do get a little quick cameo of Zola before he's robotized. And he looks kind of freaky. He looks a bit like a weird, crazy Hydra version of Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
Yeah, it's really creepy, actually, if you look. Yeah, if you imagine him with that weird mind-reading helmet when he stuck it on Marty's head back in the past.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that could be really creepy with Arnim Zola. Or Arnim, whatever.
Ermin, I think, or something like
that. Ermin Zola? Whatever. He's evil. Zola. Mr. Robo Zola, we'll call him for now. And, Captain America starts saying, what, are you doing this for Zemo and whatnot? And he's like, no, I'm doing this because I'm done with collecting them silly trinkets. And he explains that he's captured these Norse creatures, which I think is an important term because it's connecting back to the Thor episode. And he's basically going to control them and make them into his own personal army because they're, pretty strong and whatnot. And, there's a wolf, and he tries touching the thing, and the wolf gets all angry and whatnot. And Bucky goes, well, don't really like you too much. And he's like, yeah, well, that's why we put these collars on him. And he gets a remote, presses a button, and the weird, creepy wolf starts whimpering like a little dog, really. And then, unfortunately, Red Skull tells Zola to open a portal, and they detect something and start pulling it through. Unfortunately, it's Ymir, the Frost Giant King. Not really the thing I would desperately want to pull through a portal, but he begins to open and pull him through, and all this weird color and whatnot starts popping through because the Red Skull had mentioned that this place is on a gateway to the Bifrost Bridge. So when this gate is open, we do see a lot of rainbow flashes of colors and whatnot, which I thought was quite a nice little effect that they put in there. And during this creepy, weird light show, Bucky and Captain America attack and start taking out the guards around him, and also just start like causing mischief and whatnot, taking out as many guards as they can. Unfortunately, as lab experiments and bad stuff tend to happen. Stray bullets hit some control panels, and lights start turning on and off in a very alien-esque manner, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
Scary, almost like semi-strobe effects. It's like, they're
Yes.
coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah, and each time it goes off, it cuts to the tanks, it goes off again, and then it comes back on, and all the creatures are out of their tanks. And that's pretty much how we end this little section. So, Mr. Paul, what did you think of this part where we see the death of a poor innocent out-of-home troll or ogre or cyclops, whatever you like to call him? Mr. Zola appearing in human form, Red Skull's crazy plan, and everything else that happens here. What did you think?
I think this is where it just like combines so many genres as well as storylines. Because like you say, we've gone into the alien, we go to the horror at the end. We have the flashy light sequence, which I thought was very 70s psychedelic. It did remind me of the old cartoon show to some degree.
Is this Captain America cartoon show you're talking about?
Yeah.
The 60s one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The bright colours flashing, and again, it's very cinematic because the bit where you get it from the Hydra agent point of view, where he's holding the shield up, they pull down the shield and smack him and I thought that's a nice little shot. In regards to the actual the storyline, it's just really good. It feels like a little bit like a supernatural Bond film at points.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're going into, and he pontificates. He does the classic thing at school. He gets in and he explains his entire plot. I'm expositioning, but it doesn't feel like it's expositioning too much. It feels like he's gloating more.
Yeah, it's literally part of his character that he can't. Yeah, I think he mentions this as well later on. He can't kill Captain America. He just needs to humiliate. No, it's in the comics actually. He doesn't want to just kill him. He wants to humiliate Captain America. So that's a good thing. Like, oh yeah, I'm just getting all these crazy mythological creatures. You can't stop me. You failed. Look at all this crazy stuff I'm going to throw at the Allies. You've lost. Ah.
Yep.
Crazy.
And again, you see, it's the way these mythical beings are done. I don't know half of them. Is that one of the wolves of Fenris?
It's one of the wolves that we see later on in the series. It's one of we actually see these wolves two more times. I think they're meant to be from the Dark Elf realm because what's his name?
Oh.
The guy that's cut in half. He's not cut in half, but one half's dead and one half's still alive.
Always reminds me of
the Dark Elf.
Calypso from the DC universe.
I can see. Yes, it's that guy. I can't remember offhand what his name is. He's the guy that gets the Casket of Winters.
Yeah.
They're in that part as well, and they're also in the final three-parter where they're attacking the elves in whatever realm the elves are in. I'm not exactly sure what you'd class them as. I know they are Asgardian, mythological Norse mythology wolves of some description. So you could be right. They may be wolves of Fenris, I guess, even though that's Warhammer. I don't know.
Well, that comes with it. But no, I really enjoy. Again, it's just continuing on a really dense storytelling, but you do not feel like you're being overwhelmed at all.
No,
I agree. It's dumping a hell of a lot of story on you in an entertaining, fun way, and just the way that things are being shown on screen. It's well. I'm gushing. Move, Matt, before I gush all over the screen.
Stop gushing, god damn it, man. Whilst you were trying to figure out the name, I think he was, I can't really pronounce it because I'm not good at pronouncing Horfin. Horfin, there we go. Horfin. He is a result of what happens with the union between a Fenris wolf and an unnamed female frost giant.
Ooh, Jesus, that's a
I
calling.
don't think it's that one particularly. It just looks like a normal wolf, but you could be right, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the actual one. I'm just looking through the episodes as you were trying to recall it, and I've just come. That's one of the names that came up.
Mm.
Again, people listening to this, if we're wrong, tell us. Please comment and give us feedback.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm guessing it's my turn now. I've completely forgotten after all of this stuff. They invented disco in the 1940s. I didn't know if you knew this, so it's official. Disco is a Nazi invention.
Okay, I could believe that. That's why they
say.
unleashed it upon the world.
And therefore, so are the Bee Gees, and so are John Travolta.
No,
I rest my case.
it all ties in. John Travolta, with all his massaging at the moment, is a Nazi.
Okay. Does that mean the Beatles are Nazi productions as well?
No, the Bee Gees possibly, because it's...
Okay.
I'm just willing to say yes just to hear Nicole's rage.
All right, there you go. There you go. It's official.
Anyway, joking aside, it's typical bad man twirling his mustache going, ha 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 ha, look, I defeated you. Now I'm going to tell you my fetish plan. It's one of those scenes, and as cheesy as it is, it kind of suits this. I like it. I digged it. But that, at the end of the day, is what it was. But at the same time, I agree with you. He doesn't really want to kill Captain America. He wants to humiliate him any way he can. He wants to go and tell those naughty Americans that their Lincoln experiment failed. You know, he is the superior man. You know, that sort of thing. So it totally fits the character. Armin Zola. Oh, what a freak. He was a freak before he was a freak. But yeah, totally get the Doc Brown look about him. If Doc Brown went to the other side, he too could be Armin Zola.
Oh, God.
Other than that, I've got really nothing else to say about this. It's part of the episode, but it is what it is. It's the bad guy telling them all his fiendish plan. Again, we're going to have to assume that big Cyclops thing is dead.
I would assume so, yeah.
It is dead. It is person pate. It's been blended upon the sea. It's eroding away as we speak. But, you know, it's the Marvel cartoon universe. Anything is possible. For all we know, who am I going to throw? The Abomination's probably wearing it as a mink coat somewhere.
Wow.
You know, it's possible.
Poor Cyril the Cyclops.
Cyril the Cyclops. We knew him less.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that.
I've not really got much to add myself, so I guess we'll move on to this next section, which is it's really the action section of the episode, because obviously the creatures are out the cage, and guess what? They go crazy and attack everybody, not only Captain America and Bucky, but they also start going after the Hydra goons as well. And as with any good horror movie, where the creatures are let loose, the Hydra goons go down like they go down like soggy paper. They do not stand up well to these guys at all. Captain America basically says that they gotta close down the portal, obviously, and Bucky starts fighting with Strucker, and this is Strucker, and he's like, "Oh, I got a sword, and I wanted to test its skill on Captain America," and he's like, "Oh, what did he use that sword to shave your head? Maybe when you get old it'll grow back," or something like that. It's Bucky being the young kind of look at you're bald, hey baldy, what's up? So as he's dodging around, because he's having no trouble evading Strucker's stabs and whatnot, Strucker stabs the machine, or one of the machines I should say, and I'm not sure how I took that, because he is electrocuted. I took that as that's potentially a reason why he's lost his arm. I could be wrong. I'm not sure how Strucker gets his metallic arm. So I was like, maybe that's a reason for it. Who knows?
He got it in a Kinder Egg.
Oh, that would be awful if that was the case. It would. Actually, that would be amazing if a Kinder Egg would make a youth-stealing hand gauntlet thing. That would actually be pretty damn amazing, actually. um, so, yeah, he stabs the machine and gets knocked out. Captain America basically jumps over, grabs some fluid cables, cuts it in half, and strikes a spark with the shield, making this really crazy giant flamethrower, sending most of the creatures back into the portal because they're like, well, F this, I'm done with this crazy realm. I want to go home and do some other stuff. The wolf, or the Fenris wolf, or whatever it happens to be, decides to jump through and go after Captain America. But just before it attacks him, Ymir grabs the wolf and starts really coming through the portal. He's about halfway through at this point. The only thing he needs to get through at this point are his legs. And Captain America's like, cut the goddamn power, Bucky. How are you, son? So Bucky slices the cable and the portal starts closing and Ymir just gets sucked down and Red Skull does his usual thing of, damn you, Captain America. I'm gonna leave you now because this place is crumbling around me, but I will have my revenge because I'm a stereotypical villain. I'm gonna monologue before I get out of here. Grr, shake my fist and grind my teeth. Grr. So Captain America says, "Hey, this is it, Bucky. I'm sick of the Red Skull. After God knows how many years, this is the one time where I think we should probably try and stop him. All the rest of the times he's escaped, that was fine. This is the day where we say no, no more. You will not pass this line anymore." So we have Captain America running up to the roof where the Red Skull has jumped into his rocket ship. That's right. This is very James Bond styled because do you remember back in World War II days where we had rocket ships?
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
in everybody's
All
backyard.
the time.
Yeah, man. It's very secret agent escape. Bad guy is escaping. Of course he had a rocket ship. And Cap America says, "Hey, Bucky, you should probably not stay. Oh, sorry, you shouldn't come with me. You should stay here and secure this area." And Bucky gives him the "oh, stupid Captain America" kind of look. Because he decides to ignore him because he's a teenage punk. So he wants to help his mate.
Is
he's
he a
probably
teenager with attitude?
I would never. Actually, I don't think attitude was around in the 60s. Or sorry, not the 60s, the 40s? Was that World War II?
Yes.
Yes.
The 40s. 1938 to 1945.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not good with my history dates. But yeah, I don't think attitude was around in that era. I think we only got teenagers with attitude in the 90s. And it just got worse from there.
Well, technically we had him in the 80s. His name was Jason Todd.
This is true, I suppose. So Captain America climbs up to the cockpit and smashes the windows with the shield, and Red Skull's like, "Oh no, it's Captain America!" Blah. And he's like, "It's over, Red Skull." And then Red Skull's all laughing and like, "Yeah, it is." Stupid Captain America hits a button and sets off a bomb to go off in like a minute as he floats off into the distance somewhere, going hee hee hee, ha ha ha, ho ho ho. So Captain America's like, "Hey, we've got not enough time to defuse the bomb. We've got to get out of here. Come on, Bucky, jump off." And Bucky's like, "Well, you see, the funny thing is, Cap, I did sneak on board, by the way, because I decided to ignore you. But guess what? I got my leg trapped. Silly me."
Yeah, that was a little bit lame.
Yeah, maybe he deserved what's coming next. Who can say? Because Captain America does a cool thing, and because this is a rocket, it's going quite fast. He lets go of the ladder he was climbing on and flies back and catches back on, so he's closer to Bucky quicker. He tries to help Bucky, and Bucky goes, "The world doesn't need a Bucky, but it needs Captain America," and kicks him in the face. And Captain America falls off the rocket, sorry. And Bucky gives him the salute as he flies off into the distance. Captain America screaming, "Bucky!" And the rocket explodes. The Force knocks Captain America into the ice-cold waters because, they were in the frozen-y, cold areas of the world, knocking him out, I assumed, and we see him freeze. We then get another newsreel saying, Captain America and Bucky, you've done good service. You will not be forgotten. And we see that Kang was watching it all along. He was having a good little watch of this little movie, we should just say. So, that ends this section. This ends the the full-on Captain America section before we move on to Kang's little part. So, Mr. Matt, what did you think of the conclusion to the Red Skull's downfall and Captain America's inevitable freezing in the ice?
Very well done. It's the same story we pretty much got time and time again in the comic books, from one stage or another, depending on who's telling the story. But really, really well done. It doesn't make anybody weak in this at all. It's like, no, save me, Cap, or anything like this. Everything is working along to a fashion. Bucky has his Jason Todd moment. I always call it the Jason Todd moment because obviously that's what led to his demise. A little punk moment. He's going to pay for it. But it's still cool what he's doing. At the end of the day, Bucky is a soldier and he's there to beat the bad guy. So you kind of can't blame him either. Everything's done in the castle. There's nothing else you can do. What's to secure? Everybody's been beaten. So, of course, he's going to go and try and help beat the bad guy. Red Skull, the whole time in this, is still pretty much, ha-ha, Bond villain, ha-ha-ha. I'm going to go one further. It's actually felt to me more like a Flash Gordon / Buck Rogers type affair with that.
Wow.
Rather than a spy thing. But, yeah, still played out word for word. I mean, Cap pretty much ready to lay down his life for Bucky, and Bucky pretty much does the same for him for noble reasons. He's not being a punk about this. He recognizes the fact that the world needs a Captain America, and he sacrifices his life for that. That's something to, it's good. It's a good little trait with Bucky. He's not there for the glory. He's just there to beat the bad guy. He recognizes, hey, come on. It's Captain freaking America. We got, if he bloody dies, ha. Yeah. So, of course, kick him in the face, send him to his watery chasm. And, of course, yes, the Conqueror. Yes, this is where things sort of changes a little bit here. This is when the episode could have ended here, and I would have been completely and utterly happy. And what we're going to be talking about next does feel more like something that's been added on as a little bit of foreshadowing, because we know it is. It's future storylines down the pike. But it could have just as easily ended with him just watching that, and that was it. I would have been happy with that.
Well, again, got to remember these were the micro episodes.
Yeah.
So again, the Kang section technically is an entirely different episode.
Exactly, like the Nick Fury segment in the Iron Man bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, though, better served in this case.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's a lot more coherent. It fits together with the story. Since we started with Kang, we now end with Kang.
Yeah, it makes bookends it very well.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say, Mr. Matthew?
No, pretty much that's it.
Okay then, Mr. Paul, give us your thoughts on what we have just seen.
Oh right, okay. I hadn't thought of it as a Buck Rogers thing, but you really works quite well. That does, Matt. That really does work really well. It is your classic Captain America sort of origin story, really round up, but with a little bit extra bits in that. I love the fact when he gets chucked in the water, the water is a Jack Kirby style artwork of water.
Yeah. It's very peculiar water.
Yeah, that is. It's almost like, yes, you're going through Kirby space now.
I think it would have been funny if they'd pulled out the shot and it was just next to like an oil refinery and it was just leaking out oil. Okay.
Actually, Paul, funny you should say this. I think an awful lot of Earth's Mightiest Heroes do owe a little bit to Kirby in this, from the artwork and the overall stylings of this, because a lot of season 1 is actually based on the 60s stories.
I wouldn't be surprised. I totally wouldn't. I know. It's just that particular thing. It's this very much a Kirby style splash of colour.
Yeah.
More than anything. I can't really add anything to what Matt says, because it sticks to the origin quite well. I do like how they deal with the Norse creatures. It goes from a horror back to being pulp fiction, basically. Not to use the term as Tarantino uses it now, but the original pulp style comics, that sort of style of thing. And then, like you say, we go into another thing, Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah,
I know I'm just wittering on, but I can't really add much to what Matt said.
No, that's fine. I mean, like I say, this was mainly our action sequence, which we got here quite well.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a huge amount to talk about, I would say. I think we've literally covered as much of it as that needs to be done.
I actually want to throw up one other thing here.
Oh, go ahead.
There's a comparison with this episode with the Captain America movie.
Okay.
Both events leading to Captain America getting frozen has bits from Thor thrown in.
That's true, yeah, because here we have obviously the Norse creatures, and in the movie we have the Tesseract or the Cosmic Cube.
Exactamundo.
Which I thought was always strange that they tied the Cosmic Cube with Thor, but
in this case, Ymir from Journey into Mystery.
Yes, yeah. But I suppose we should move on to our final segment, yes?
Yep.
As we then cut back to Cyril, the poor Cyclops, falling to his death again to remind us that this poor creature was not where he should have been, wrong place, wrong time. We see basically a rehash of what happened, but there's something different. Kang is in the background watching Bucky and Captain America entering the castle, and he asks for a time jump forward in time. We then see Bucky briefly look back. So whether this is affecting time, his presence has affected time, even slightly. I wasn't entirely sure. I think he did slightly affect time, not a huge amount, obviously, but he jumps forward in time to the point where the Red Skull's saying he wants to get revenge and all that woo-woo. He then takes another time jump forward to where the Red Skull's climbing aboard his rocket ship and Bucky's running out from the castle. He actually comes out behind Bucky as well. And then we jump forward in time as the rockets jumped off. He's sitting in his lovely comfy chair that looks very much like, what's his name? Metron? Is it Metron from DC?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, Metron.
Metron's the one who goes around in his floating chair.
Yeah, very Metron-esque, which I'm sure is deliberate because, comics have shared ideas between each other for years now. So, it's no secret. So maybe I'm sure there's inspiration there. He then watches the demise of Bucky, and he jumps forward in time to then see Bucky get knocked out, and Captain America knocked out as well and forced into the water. He then floats above the area where Captain America was KO'd, and he takes manual control of his little time jumping chair, woo-woo, and just really jumps forward in time and just sees the whole landscape around him change and grow and alter, which I thought was quite a cool little scene, just to see all the icebergs grow around him. And obviously Captain America's not popped up in that time period.
Very reminiscent of the original Time Machine film.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah,
there's a scene in that Time Machine where it has that time progression element.
That's right, because the time machine, it stays stationary, doesn't it? Yeah. But everything around it fast forwards.
Yeah. There's that horrible scene in the film actually where we actually watch a man rapidly decompose.
That's in the remake. I meant the original, but yeah.
No, it's in the original as well.
Do you? I don't remember seeing that.
I have a vivid memory of seeing that.
Ooh.
Man, maybe Matt's just seen decomposing men in his dreams.
Oh.
You never know. But Kang obviously doesn't see anything, and he asks for a chrono jump, as he calls it, back to Damocles base, as Paul mentioned, which we find out is his ship. We see him orbiting a planet, which we're not entirely sure what that is. We will find out in a moment. And apparently there is some problems with the space-time continuum. Apparently it's rupturing, and if you've heard the word rupturing, you know that that's usually not good.
No.
When it comes to time, when it comes to your bowels,
when it comes to spots,
never good.
Even for spots, it's not good to have a rupturing spot.
That's good. I would argue that a rupturing anus is probably a little bit worse than a rupturing spot, though.
Oh man!
Or a spot in your anus that's rupturing.
Oh, that would not be a good sensation, I would imagine.
That would be such an no. Let's move on.
Yeah, very messy, shall we say? The planet he's orbiting is basically turning white. So maybe it's all Mikey who's doing this, and he's bringing the planet into the Matrix loading screen world. Who can say? But what's left behind after the white void has gone over the land is basically a burnt out, crusted wasteland, a molten, really crappy kind of place to live. Um, and we find out that this place he's orbiting is Earth. This is the far flung future where Kang, has conquered the world because that's what he does. He's Kang the Conqueror. He's not Kang the Peacemaker or Kang the Daisy Picker. Though I'd like to see a comic on Kang the Daisy Picker. That would be quite interesting.
You do see his soft side a little though, with his well.
Yeah, definitely. We do see, which we don't ever see again, unfortunately. But yes, as you mentioned, we see his wife because he's getting his wife on board the ship as basically the planet around him is being erased from time. And he's blaming all of this on Captain America, saying that something in the past, something that Steve Rogers has done, is the cause for all of this. Which I thought was quite interesting because it's pretty much it spins you that Captain America is this great hero and he's done all this good during World War II, and then obviously you cut to the future and you find out that he's done this. Granted, Kang's no saint or anything, but there is technically peace at the moment because there's no war because he's already conquered the Earth, and because of what Captain America's somehow done, he's technically the villain here. Which is an interesting spin on something that he hasn't done yet, but something he will do. And
would you say that Kang brings peace through tyranny?
I would, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's that kind of generic Megatron / Sinestro kind of thing. If there is one unified law, then there is not going to be anyone to oppose me because no one can beat Kang because he conquered them all. We do see what else I've got here showing something. Oh, yes, he asks the computer to show him something. We see like a flag projection over his face, and he goes, "Of course." I don't think that was ever explained or has ever been completely explained. We could argue that maybe it's a shot of the Avengers with the American flag behind them, but it's kind of hard to know exactly what it was, specifically exactly what it was.
Maybe it was the US agent.
Oh man! No.
Da, da, da.
Maybe it was Jimmy Woo all along.
Maybe it was no.
Jimmy Woo.
It was Nomad.
No, oh god, Nomad. I only know of Nomad because of the Winter Soldier story. I would have had no idea who Nomad was before. Jeez, he went crazy.
I like Nomad.
He's dead now, I'm afraid, Paul.
I know.
He's been dead for a while.
It's Marvel, they'll bring him back.
I'm not sure they will, because is he really that popular? It's not like they've killed Steve Rogers, they killed Nomad. It's like, I don't think we need to worry about Nomad coming back. I could be wrong.
All I need to say, Andy, is for years, Marvel has always said, only Bucky stays dead. Wah, wah!
Yeah, but they actually made his comeback good.
This is true. He's Solid Snake.
Yeah, pretty much. But we have Kang on his bridge, and his wife arrives, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, babe? I'll see you later tonight." And before he gets to see her later tonight, she is hit by the white loading screen of the Matrix, which kills one of his poor crew members. He didn't care about him. It partially hits his wife, and he manages to grab her arm and pull her back through as the Damocles does another chrono time jump. And he has his wife dying in his arms. She's suffering from being partially wiped out of time, which isn't probably very good for your health, I would say.
No.
And he says, well, to save you and to save everything, it looks like I'm going to have to conquer the Earth again, just in the past. Because he's now orbiting current day Earth, planning to strike. Which is weird because I'm not exactly sure when that happens. I assume that the end of this episode takes or happens literally probably in the teens, I would guess, of the series.
I'd hazard to think it actually takes place immediately before his two-parter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Because he does have an episode before the two-part. I couldn't remember what episode that was specifically. I'm just having a quick nip through Kang Dynasty. The man who it was probably the Man Who Stopped Time, which is episode 17. And then come the Conqueror.
That's the one. That's the two-parter. Yeah.
Yeah, The Man Who Stole Tomorrow. So I think it jumps from episode. Technically, we got to remember that this is episode 6. So it jumps from episode 6 to episode 17 for the end of this episode, which is kind of interesting in itself. But we will pass over to Matt, if he can give your thoughts on this final Kang section, and also your final thoughts on the episode as a whole, and a rating out of 10, please, Mr. Matthew.
Basically, it's foreshadowing. Kang is pretty much one of the big bads in pretty much the latter half of this series, so it was nice to have that thing thrown in. But without a shadow of a doubt, if you watch these as the mini episodes, it makes a lot more sense to just watch it as its own thing. But it kind of works here as well. I still say it works better in this than the Nick Fury being saddled with the Iron Man thing was. It was a good thing to finish it up on. I would have, like I said earlier, I would have been happy just for it to end with Kang sort of hovering over, interesting, and then that would be that. That would have been a good cliffhanger. But we got all of this backstory thrown in as well, which shows us. Actually, it shows Kang off to be a better villain with motivations than Red Skull, ironically. I think, because all Red Skull really is, he's the guy with the twirly mustache saying, "I will beat you next time." Whereas Kang is, I'm here to conquer your world. And Captain America, you're a bastard.
Have we ever had the backstory and why the Red Skull is such an evil son of a bitch before?
No, because I don't think we could actually get away with that on a kids' TV show.
I just meant in general, because I don't think I've ever heard of his proper backstory.
In the comics, we've had.
In the comics, there's been more than one. I know that much. You've had the one from the wartime, and I know the one we've currently got is something like either the third or fourth Red Skull in the line. But the first one, it's something to do with him having the same super serum or a variant of that from the other side. So he is literally, in more ways than one, the arch rival of Captain America.
Yeah.
Later down the road, things get a little bit more political. I think one of the more recent Red Skulls was an American himself or something like, left ring to right ring, I don't know. But it gets more keyed into the politics or the puppetry behind the politics, which I think that latter guy in season 2 is meant to be. They're not meant to be the same Red Skull, I believe.
I didn't tweak that.
Because I think it's something that gets passed down. I think, burn off the flesh off their face, you get to be a Red Skull.
Well, it's worked with Sin.
The initiation ceremony.
well, it's sort of worked in the comics now with Sin, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Sin, his daughter.
Yeah, exactly. But that's basically it. I think he's gone back to being the Captain America villain. I think at one time he moved from Captain America to Spider-Man, I believe, at one point. I think he became a Spider-Man villain.
I know he was in the Spider-Man 90s cartoon at one point.
Yeah, I think in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a story where basically Spider-Man was up against him.
Yeah, I think that was when he was pursuing the Cosmic Cube, really, that sort of run, I think.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, other than that, the real backstory behind Red Skull, I don't think they can really get to, because at the end of the day, we're talking about a cartoon that substitutes Nazis for Hydra. Further down that line, it's kind of like, you're playing with fire. But still cool that we got the Red Skull as much as we got here. He was basically a full-on Nazi in that costume and that. There's not much else I can really say about the Kang stuff without really going into details for the latter episodes. So what I'll do is I'll stop it there and then bring back another little point about Nick Fury.
Okay.
In the comics, Battle Scars, it's established that the bald-headed Samuel L. Jackson-looking Nick Fury is the son of the white Nick Fury. He is the son. He's Nick Fury Jr.
Nick Fury Jr.
So basically, he's the son. But we can now say that Samuel L. Jackson is the son of David Hasselhoff.
Oh, God.
I can actually say that with a smile on my face. So yeah, the comics have now established, that Nick Fury's gone. We're not having him anymore. Bye-bye. We've written him out. Hey, look, it's Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury, and he's got his own Agent Coulson and everything.
Yay.
Done in the current Marvel comics, and they've done it in such a stupid way, it's unreal. But because of that, that means anything with Samuel L. Jackson, current day Nick Fury, he's pretty much part of the present time, which means white Nick Fury is his father. Which means this Nick Fury in this cartoon is a completely different Nick Fury altogether, because his dad is not David Hasselhoff. He's Jack Fury. He's a completely different man. So this is a completely different character.
That's fine. I think it works better.
What's Nick Fury in the Ultimate Universe? How's that one work?
He's literally Samuel L. Jackson. He's the one from the movie. Because Ultimate was done before the movies, they were like, well, who would we like to have as Nick Fury? And they said, oh, it'd be awesome if we could get him to Sam Jackson to play him in a real life version. And obviously that's why they hired him for the live action movies, because he said, yeah, he'd do it.
But there is not.
Indeed.
But there isn't like an older version of him in World War II. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, he's modern day.
Yeah.
He's just modern day. So you could technically say, well, in the Ultimate Universe, maybe David Hasselhoff exists there too.
Excellent.
Maybe.
Oh, please. Oh, come on, in a later Ultimate. Yes, please.
I dare anyone to actually read Battle Scars. It will make you facepalm and go, really? You're going down this road? Oh, my Lord.
Oh, God.
But what would you give this episode then, Mr. Matt, out of 10?
I will give it an 8 out of 10. It's not a bad episode. It's not one of my favourites, but then again, I'm not that big of a Steve Rogers fan anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But it does its job. It tells a good story throughout, and then you get a nice epilogue on the end. But it is basically, we're going to beat up the bad guys. I'm gonna twirl my monocle at you. We're gonna kill some people. Ha ha ha! Oh look, it's Wolverine.
Okay.
But I did like this episode. Just not one of my favourites out of the ones. Actually, I think the Hulk's my favourite ones of the introductions.
Sweet. Well then, Mr. Paul, what did you think of this last section? Obviously, give us your overall thoughts on the episode, and then a mark out of 10, please.
I liked how it went back to Kang, because like it could have ended on the previous one, Matt, you're quite right there. But the way it made you go, what? Because one thing is, it was so condensed that you wouldn't have noticed if it ended there. You would have felt you got a decent episode, full stop there. But when it went back to that, when I first watched it, I was thinking, oh, have I got a bad digital copy and it's gone back a bit? I went, oh, hang on a minute. And I do like say the fact that it looks like Bucky can sense him. I kept thinking also it's a bit Quantum Leap style. He's going to ask for Ziggy in a minute.
Actually, I was thinking, I just remembered something. Back when I was watching these episodes as the 5-minute chunks, I actually thought Bucky was outright seeing him, because there's that one point where he turns his head and Kang's there. So maybe Cap didn't see him, but Bucky did. And then there's that nice little look he gives later on as well. It's like, hang on, what's going on here? There's more to Bucky going on here than meets the eye. But it never really got touched upon.
No. See, I just took that as he sensed him,
Same
but he
here.
turned around and didn't see him.
That's exactly how I saw it as well. But the fact that it sensed him was good. But anyway, I love the fact that he goes to the time thing. I felt there was a reference to the time machine in that bit. I love the fact that it's the Damocles, it's the sword of Damocles. It looks like a sword. It becomes the base of sword later on. And I thought, come on. But it gives it's a whole new story within itself that doesn't feel like it's been forced. And you could. I just loved how it was done. For me, as a whole, this was a very well-contained story, book-ended by the Kang story, which didn't feel forced on. I'm going to give it 10.
Oh, wow.
I tell you, no, apologise. I will reverse it. 9.5, 9.5.
Wow.
Only for the fact I would have given it a 10. The only thing I don't give it a 10 is because it is your basic Captain America storyline. It has the 4 elements, and I really enjoyed it. But there was a few of us episodes in the first season which felt a little bit deeper in some of the things. And you do sort of catch your breath with some of the things going on it.
There's a scene when Steve first gets forward out that if I'm in that episode, I will totally point out. But I won't bring up here. If I'm not in the episode, I'll bring it up in a comment in the feedback.
Okay, but that's the only thing stopping it being possibly one of I have a few that are 10 in the whole of Avengers. This is close to being 10 for them. It only stops being a 10 because it doesn't really make me go like a few of us do. But it's so well made, and I so love the way that it goes from one art piece to another, and it feels so cinematic as well. I'm giving it a high score as much for its presentation as for the storyline.
Oh, that's cool. No, I would probably myself give it an 8.5. Again, like you said, Paul, I like the Kang bookend. I think it was the most coherent of all of them. Actually, excusing Thor, which was the best of them, still I think it was the most coherent. The Captain America one comes close by second. Just because that last section usually is a little bit out of place. Like for the Hulk story, it was Hawkeye and Black Widow only. And for Captain America, for Iron Man, it was Nick Fury. And for the next week's episode, it's 3 different characters, which makes it a little bit more messy, I would say. This one still, because it had Kang at the beginning, I thought it flowed well together. It didn't feel out of place. Boom, he was at the end as well, like you said. Good bookmark. It's not my favorite. Obviously, that's why I'm giving it an 8.5. But like you said, it's got a lot of nice elements to it, even though it is essentially an origin story for the most part. It also sets up a lot of stuff to come. It's got so many threads that are built off of this for future storylines, which, we guessed a few of them. One being, of course, the Winter Soldier and the return of Red Skull. But there's obviously a lot more than just that. And obviously, you haven't seen the conclusion of some of those threads yet, Mr. Paul.
No, I haven't. Obviously, it does pull through. Don't spoil it for me.
No.
No, we wouldn't dare.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, next week, as I mentioned, we will have on another special guest. And maybe a fill-in, depending if Mikey gets his internet back working again, when we will talk about the man in the, as it loads up the rest of the title, the man in the, come on, computer, you can do it.
The man in the computer, come on, do it. Is it Mickey? It's the man in the computer.
Computer, Mickey.
Hang on, I will find out. The Man in the Anthill.
Yes, that's the one thing. The computer just didn't want to load up its title for whatever reason. The Man in the Anthill will be next week's episode. So like I say, I've already got a guest lined up for that, and hopefully Mikey will return from wherever he is at present. But I want to thank Matt, who I called in at the last minute really to do this. Thank you, Matt, for spending time and talking about the show again.
That's fine. I will take my revenge on Mikey later for my lack of social etiquettes.
Oh, jeez. Do you want to drop down where people can find you?
You can find me here, basically, because this show is on the Nerdsphere Network. You can find it on the nerdspherenetwork.blogspot.com. There's various great things on there. And Logan.
Yes, he's there.
Hello.
I thought I should mention, because this podcast will also be going on the YouTube channels. So for those people who are listening there, you can find it also, like I say, on Matt's site. Anywhere else people can find you if they choose to, sir?
I'll bring up the fact that Master Avengers Theatre, for those who are listening through the YouTubes, is actually the second podcast on the Shut Up and Watch This feed. So we do it where Master Avengers Theatre is the show slotted between Comic Tunes and Roundtables. So it's a Shut Up and Watch This, followed by a Master Avengers, followed by a Shut Up and Watch This.
There you go.
So there you go.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Paul Logan Blaze, for coming on literally second day in a row to talk with me on, my podcasts, I suppose.
Yes, if it's his second date, did you say? Because, I will go...
Day.
I was
Second
thinking we
date.
were on a second date, because,
No.
I would go all the way on the second date, that's all.
You're kind of easy, because it's meant to be the third day that you put out.
Hell, I'll go on the first.
Technically, Paul's in the next podcast that's coming out as well, because I edited another commentary for him.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, Mr. Paul, where can people find you? We did obviously talk about this on the show yesterday on Moonbase 2, but it's on a different feed. So if people do not know, where can they find you?
Well, the other feed was more Earth 616. This is a different Earth, so you need to explain it a bit more.
This is the new 52 universe.
Exactly.
Don't say that.
Where things fuck up, but then more things stay the same.
Exactly.
Don't say that. That makes this sound like a second-rate podcast.
Welcome to the Superior Podcast. Shut up and watch this. Coming out straight after this one.
Nice, thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
I am Paul Logan Blaze Anderson, sometimes known as Sugar Bear. You may know me under Logan_Blaze on Twitter. I am on the Nerdsphere a little bit more than I used to be. So yeah, see me around. I do get about a bit like a crotch-ridden whore, but there we go.
Yeah. We came up with a new nickname for you on the Aliens podcast, and the Alien commentary, but I can't remember what we called you on there.
No, neither can
I can't remember.
It was Peter something, wasn't it?
Jesus Christ! If I hear one more blinking substitution marine banana or frankfurter, I will get the three of you, and I will bang your collective heads together, you bastards.
Apparently, you swear more than I did, Paul.
You did. He did.
Which I was impressed about. I was like, really? Okay.
But the idiot who Blinken suggested it didn't swear at all. So I actually deliberately substituted a frankfurter for one just normal word.
Just to make it fit in with the rest.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Well, again, thank you to everyone who's listening on YouTube or on the interwebs podcasting areas in general. And again, thank you to both of you. And we will see you next week for some Ant-Man action with some other people for another episode of Master Avengers Theatre. So catch you guys next time. And remember, by this time next week, I will have learned to spin a web. I will have learned to stick to walls. I'll have learned to summon a giant robot to fight kaiju monsters. I will have seen Spider-Man. See you next week, people. Thank you for tuning into this week's show. With your heroes, Old Snake, Cobra Commander TFW, and his sidekick, Shillelagh Lad, Mikey G. Wolfie 3. Remember,
tune in next week. Until then, have a pleasant evening.